Hey everybody! In this lesson I want to teach you two finger picking patterns that you can use to play literally thousands of songs. And I know the question is, how in the world can you narrow it down to just two finger picking patterns? Well, that's what this lesson is for, so let's go ahead and get started. So the reason you only need two finger picking patterns is because there are two time signatures in music that are the most popular, more so than any of the others. And those two time signatures are 4/4 time, or 4 beats per measure, and 3/4 time, or 3 beats per measure. Most of the popular songs you're going to listen to on the radio are going to be in one of those two time signatures. And the most common of those two is going to be 4/4 time. So I'm going to show you a finger picking pattern in these two time signatures that you can use to replace any pattern in any song that's in those two time signatures. Now, it's important to realize that there isn't just one strum pattern for one song. If a song is in 4/4 time or 4 beats per measure, I can use many different patterns to play that song. The important thing is that I stay in 4/4 time. Mary had a little. If you can't clap your hands along to the song, then you're doing something wrong. That rhymed. If you can't clap your hands along to the song, then you're doing something wrong. So first, let's talk about 4/4 time, which is going to be, again, the most popular time signature in the songs out there. So in terms of strumming the guitar, a very easy and simple strum pattern to use for songs in 4/4 time is going to be the driving pattern. Now, any song that uses the driving pattern, I can replace it with a finger picking pattern in the same time signature. So we're going to need to create a pattern of 4, or 4 beats. We're going to pluck the strings 4 times, and then that pattern is going to repeat. And it's important with any finger picking pattern that we always start on the root note of the chord. So if I'm on a G chord, I need to start on that low E string, which is my G note. Okay, so my thumb is always going to pluck that root note on beat 1 of every measure. So for this pattern, what we're going to do is for beat 1, I'm going to pluck that root note, okay? And then for beat 2, I'm also going to use my thumb, and I'm going to hit, in this case, I'm going to hit the D string, okay? And I'm going to talk about why in just a second. And then I'm going to come back up in the other direction with either my first or second finger on the B and then G string. So those are my 4 notes, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, an important thing to know is whatever chord you're playing, where is the root note? So if we're in the key of G, our G chord, the root note is going to be that low E string, okay? If I go to C or C add 9, my root note moves to the A string. This is my root note now, okay? This is my C note. So now with my finger picking pattern, I need to start on that A string. So I'm going to play A, D with my thumb, and then I'm going to come back with B and G. So just remember that your thumb needs to follow the root note of whatever chord you're playing. If the root note does start on the low E string, like with my G chord or my E minor chord, you're going to want to skip the A string. So for instance, with my E minor chord, I'm going to play the E string, I'm going to skip the A string and go to the D string with my thumb. The fact is, it's not wrong if you play the A string, but the reason I like to do this is because it lets that root note, that really low pitch root note, ring out very clear. And if you were to play the A string with it, it could get just a little bit muddy and make it hard to hear that root note very clear. All right, so now I'm going to play a couple of songs that I've played before and that I have song tutorials with in the song library that use the driving pattern. But now I'm going to take those same songs and I'm going to play it with this finger picking pattern instead.
Have I told you lately that have I told you there's no one else above Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
All right, so if you go into my song library, you can narrow down the categories to the driving pattern, or the folk pattern is another 4-beat strum pattern. You can look at songs that use those and replace that strum pattern with this finger-picking pattern for those songs, and it will work fine. Now let's look at a finger-picking pattern in 3/4 time. All right, so for songs in 3/4 time, we're going to have 3 beats per measure instead of 4, but with the finger-picking pattern, we're still going to start off on the root note of the chord. Again, I'm going to stay in the key of G here, and for the G chord, my root note again is that low E string. So my first beat is always going to be that root note. And for this pattern, what I'm going to be doing is my thumb is going to be playing on every beat. So that's going to be 3 times, 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to come back to that root note and play it again and start that pattern over. But in between those beats, I'm going to use my first and second finger, alternatively, to play the in-betweens or the ups, 1 and 2 and 3 and, okay? So on those ands, I'm going to be using my first and second finger to play some higher pitch notes. So I have 1 with my thumb and with my index finger on the G string, 2 with my thumb on D, and with my second finger on B, 3 with my thumb again on D, and again with my index finger on G. And then I'm going to repeat. So again, a little bit faster. We have 1 and 2 and 3 and 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 1. So you can see there's kind of a back and forth pattern with this. We're going from low pitch with our thumb to a higher pitch with our index, our middle finger, and we're doing that back and forth. 1 and 2 and 3 and then we repeat. The same rules apply if our root note changes to a different string. So if I go to a C add 9 chord or C chord, my root note changes to the A string. So I just need to move my thumb for that first beat down to the A string. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. Now let's say I play a D chord. I'm just going to play a D major chord to give you an example, because in this case our root note is going to start on the D string. We're going to be skipping the E and the A string, and our thumb needs to start on the D string. So in that case, what we need to do is shift everything down a string. So my thumb is going to start on D. So my first finger, instead of starting on the G string, would start on the B string this time. So we have 1 and 2 and 3 and. Okay, so we're going from the D string to the B string, then my thumb to the G string, to the E string, high E string with my middle finger, back to the G string with my thumb, okay, B string with first finger, and that's the whole pattern. Then we're back to D again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. All right, so now I'm going to play a song that I've played before, that I already have a song tutorial for, in 3/4 time using the swing pattern, and I'm going to play it now instead with this new finger picking pattern. So the best way to practice these finger picking patterns is just to pick a chord that you feel very comfortable with, that you already know very well. So again, maybe it's the G chord. So I'm just going to hold that G chord with this hand. I'm not worried about chord transitions or playing chords, perfectly. My focus is going to be on this hand and on the finger picking pattern. So make things easy for your left hand if you're right-handed. So while I'm playing that G chord, I'm going to be focused completely on this hand, on my picking hand. I'm going to be watching it with my eyes so I can be completely focused on it. And I'm going to go super slow. I'm not going to set a metronome. I'm not going to be trying to keep to any tempo right now. I just want to get my fingers used to that pattern. And then as you get more and more comfortable with it, you can begin to speed it up, and then it's going to become like riding a bicycle. Your hand is just going to know that pattern, and it's going to play it intuitively. And when you get to that part, you can begin to try to incorporate it in songs and, with chord transitions on top of it. But your mind really needs to have the pattern memorized before you can try to then use it in a song. So focus on learning these two patterns and finding some songs that you really like in 4/4 time and 3/4 time that you can use these patterns for. You can find songs in my song library and even play along with me. Even though I'm playing a strumming pattern, you can play along with me with these finger picking patterns. In fact, this is a great way to add some variety when you're playing with other people, so that, if there's two guitarists, so that both guitarists are not playing the exact same identical pattern. One can be strumming and one can be doing a finger picking pattern, and that creates some variety in the playing, and it sounds very nice. All right, I hope you enjoyed this lesson. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you in the next lesson. Take care.